me? Yeah, you can. So, LiveDocs corpora, that's the name of the game today. LiveDocs tab is there in memoQ from the very beginning, right next to translation memories and term bases, even above those two. But I'm willing to bet that less than half of you use LiveDocs in more than, say, 10% of your projects. Anyone uses it more? Hands up? Yeah, so I won. So what is LiveDocs and how can you use it? It's mono and bilingual corpus, basically. That's the most basic application. It can also be a storage space or holding space for permanent and temporary content. For example, for moving content between projects. It's also a file repository. And the most use case scenario, most used scenario for LiveDocs, you can use it to align content, monolingual content to create bilingual resources. But as the name suggests, LiveDoc corpus is first and foremost a repository for monolingual and bilingual content. Monolingual content can be either in the source language or in the target language of your project, and can provide context or additional information for content being translated. If this is a technical translation, you can provide definitions on documents with the definitions on information on the devices that are being translated and terminology used in the projects. If you are doing software localization, let's say software strings, you can provide, put the, software manuals in the corpus that will maybe reference those strings, and translators can get the context, because sometimes software strings are really kind of contextless and you can interpret them in many ways. If you are doing game localization, you can provide information, context information on storylines or on characters that will benefit translators because they can get extra data. When it comes to bilingual content, I don't think I have to explain the benefits of providing this kind of reference materials. You can get both segment level leverage for the translation and potential source of terminology, phrasing, and preferred style. So how can we add content into a corpora? Both for monolingual and bilingual translation, bilingual content can be imported by selecting import document. You can import singular documents this way, or multiple documents, or import folder structure which works the same way as importing folder structure for translation. You can select, you can recursively import content from folders, creating masks. So let's say import only docx documents from this bunch of folders. For any monolingual file in supported format imported into LiveDocs, you will get a preview the same way as you do in memoQ for translation. If you plan to import PDFs this way, try different options for importing, because by default memoQ will use Word-like filter. I think in my experience the non-default option of text will give you much faster import and much faster indexing, so you will get results quicker too. But depending on the document, segmentation may suffer, so your experience may vary. When it comes to bilingual files, you can use TMX or any XLIF format. If the TMX contains multiple languages, like, for example, TMX from DGT with European legislation, you will have to select a single language pair that will be imported. This is an excellent way of handling those TMXs, by the way. And unfortunately, for some reason, I don't understand, you cannot import multilingual Excel files into Corpora or multilingual XML files, even if you have filters ready for them. And if memoQ bilingual files are a special case, because if you import memoQ bilingual file with a preview inside, you will get that preview in Corpora 2, which is not case for all formats like TMX, for example. memoQ bilingual files, instead of importing externally as import document, can be also added into a corpus directly from memoQ project after translation or the whole process. Right-click a document or selection of documents and select Add to LiveDocs. There is an also option to move a document into corpus, that is, add document to a corpora and then remove it from a project, which may be quite useful if you like to work in a bucket project. So let's say you have one big project for a specific client, and you, instead of creating new projects every time, you just add documents. So you can, once you translate those documents, you can move them to Corpora to have clean slate later on. Adding or moving documents into corpus can be also automated in template-based projects. And finally, you can also align monolingual content to create bilingual resource. The aligned source and target documents don't have to be in the same format. And if you have a lot of them, using import folder structure can be a useful option. Okay, so we have some monolingual and bilingual content in our corpus. How can we use it? Monolingual will be strictly for reference. It can be displayed in the translation results pane as a match without translation. Double-click to see the string in context, and if the source format is supported, memoQ will show a preview of that file too. Here is an example of a European regulation, how you can see content with the preview. Alternatively, you can perform a concordance search, either on source or target, depending on the language of your reference material. And from there, you can also open the document to display it in context. Bilingual content can be used in the same way, with the added bonus of providing translations, plus it can also provide matches in pre-translation. So why would you store bilingual content in a corpus and not in the translation memory? First, you can't confirm translations into LiveDocs. So it's more like read-only translation memory with fixed structure and sequence of segments. So you can always rely on context information as opposed to translation memories. You can get similar results with master translation memories, but you have to treat them properly for that. You can also apply different set of penalties on content in LiveDocs than the content in translation memories. You don't have metadata-related options, but there is a keyword-based penalties. Yeah, there is a keyword-based penalties instead, and penalties based on types of alignment or segment statuses. And interestingly, even a penalty for different sub-languages. That may be important. If you add translated documents into a corpora, they will provide matches. But if the document preview is stored with the bilingual file, so imported memoQ document, you can also see not only matches in the linguistic context, but also in the graphical context. So again, this may be extremely useful. What is interesting, and I personally find it very, very useful, is the fact that corpus matches have different icons on the translation results pane. So when I have a match during translation, I instantly know whether it comes from translation memory or it comes from a corpus. And that's why whenever I work on projects with regulated vocabulary, let's say chemical stuff subject to REACH regulations or something medical regulated by EMA and so on, I keep regulations or templates in corpora attached to such projects. Matches from translation memory can be good or not necessarily, but matches from LiveDocs are regulatory, in these projects at least. So I instantly know I should stick to the wording because it comes from a corpus. Fortunately, everything has downsides, so this is also true for LiveDocs, used as a source of matches and context information. LiveDocs are noticeably slower than translation memories. Translation memory with 500,000 segments, translation units will be quite fast on any relatively modern computer. The same amount of content in LiveDocs will be slower, like 2-3 seconds for getting a match. And if your segment is longer, it can be even, you'll have to wait even more. So if you use LiveDocs and plan to use it, back developers here for fixing it. Now, another use case I personally employ is sharing content between projects. The option to export project documents into LiveDocs corpus is quite useful for that. I call it clipboard for projects. And I give you two examples how you can use this kind of functionality. First one is, let's say you receive a batch of projects from your client, and they all concern the same topic. Say you are to translate hardware manual, software manual, and marketing materials for some device. You will get separate projects for each of them, and while your client does use single master translation memories for all this content, each project will use separate working translation memory, and the process of updating master is slower than your translation. So when you translate hardware and then hardware manual, and then you go to translating software manual, you know a lot of content will be useful, you've already translated, will be useful in the second translation, but it's not in client's translation memories yet. So what I do is I just export that translated documents into a LiveDocs and attach this to another project. I'm getting matches. I know the source of that matches is my translation. It's not confusing translation memory. I don't have to set separate penalties for that content. So this helps me. This makes translation more consistent, and it's easier to manage than handling separate translation memories. The second, I should have clicked that. The second case is providing alternative source of matches in a project. So say you want to provide machine translation content for translators, but not for all the content, just for below certain fuzzy match threshold, because fuzzies will generally be better. So you can define your preferred fuzzy match, fuzzy value, let's say 75% as a good match in TM settings, then pre-translate with MT content below that value, get rid of all the content that is not above this 75%, move documents into LiveDocs, and set penalties for content from LiveDocs which is empty translated. That way, translators will know that in this project, content from LiveDocs comes from machine translation. There is a penalty for that. They will not show as 100%, but let's say 74 or lower. And this can be easily used to everyone's advantage. When such corpus is not needed anymore, you can just delete it. Now, do you know that you can use corpus, LiveDocs corpus, to distribute any kind of files to your project members, regardless of the file format? In the current memoQ version, you can use import reference file to import any kind of file, even exe files, into LiveDocs corpus. Previously, in the older versions, older memoQ versions, it used to be well-hidden option on the file import settings. You'd have to select import binary, but now it's easily accessible. So you can attach uninterpreted PDFs, Office documents, movies, memoQ resource files, and so on. If you are a project manager and you want to share some documents with your team, you can attach them directly to a project and don't have to use any external ways of providing them with these documents. This ability to, one more information, when you import document in such a file in such a way, you have to select language. So if you have a multilingual project, you can select a source language for documents that will be relevant to all project participants, or you can select specific target language for documents, for files that are only relevant to particular target language linguists. Now, these have several implications. You can provide reference materials directly in memoQ. Let's say memoQ doesn't support a preview for a given file format. For example, if you were to work with studio files. PDF can be included in the LiveDocs. Translators can download it from there and use a PDF preview tool to get in-context view of the translated content. The same goes for movies. If they work on subtitles, you can attach the movie itself into LiveDocs. And again, they can download that movie, use subtitles preview tool to work on subtitles in context. All sorts of supporting documentation can be provided, like extended glossaries in Excel format, style guides in Word, and other relevant for particular project. Again, accessible directly from that project. Any custom memoQ resources. This can be both useful in translation companies, but also in academia. You can provide students with segmentation rules, auto-translation rules, or regex assistant libraries for processing documents. It should be noted that for documents in format that can be translatable, like PDFs or Word, you need to carefully choose in which way you will import that. Because if you import Word file into a document as import document, it will be indexed. If you want to provide binary file that can be downloaded, you need to import file. So that's another use case of file repository. And I think we'll more or less on track. I need to speed up. Alignment. Of course, a most used way of employing LiveDocs is alignment. And nothing wrong with that. But I cannot go into details, too much details on alignment use, but just some factors you should consider. When do we use alignment will depend on various factors, and the most important are, is the reference material useful for the sentence level matches? How much the source and target documents differ, and who and how will use the aligned content. And interestingly, the answer to the first question is really quite easy. What you say, you have some reference materials in source and target, and you think they might be useful for your current translation. What you do is you create a project with the documents you want to translate, then create a corpus with where you will import source document, source reference document as a source language, and the same source document as a target language. Why? Because that way you will get perfect one-to-one alignment without any segmentation changes. If the documents are different, this might affect segmentation substantially. So import that document, make confirm all automatic links, select option for document is completed, and then run analysis just on that corpus without any extra options. If you see that there are matches from that document, then you know it's worth investing time into getting this content. What about the situation if the amount of content, reference content, is much bigger than the content of the document for translation? How do you know which part of that content should be aligned? There is a way to handle that too, interestingly, not directly through with LiveDocs, but in such case, what you can do is export that aligned source-to-source content into a temporary translation memory. Then delete the corpus or just uncheck it from the project and run analysis of your documents against that translation memory, but this time check option for project TM. Once analysis is complete, memoQ will allow you to create a project TM. There will be, the button will become active, and any content that is similar to what you have in your document will be exported to that translation memory. Then you can open it and look where this content actually resides in your reference documents. If you want to use it directly, you can then make sure that this content will be aligned perfectly, or maybe it just comes from one of the document pairs from a bunch of documents you can potentially align. So this may speed up your workflow and save you a lot of work. Now, I need something doesn't click here. Yeah. Evaluating how much source and target documents differ requires opening the files usually you want to align and checking them. If the volume is substantially different, it's a big red flag. Maybe you can spot what is wrong there. But also you can check for things like alphabetically sorted content in both documents. In different languages, this alphabetically sorted content will be in different places. Such things are best to just extract and put into Excel and pre-process there. If you are committed to alignment and content looks equivalent, there are two things worth checking. First, before you actually start doing that. First, are your segmentation rules correct? Because segmentation rules can mess up things a lot. Either import documents into LiveDocs and go through them, or just import documents into a project, those reference files, and see if there are incorrect segmentation there. If you do that within a project, you can automatically add, semi-automatically add update your segmentation rules with those. There is a button for that, with those unrecognized abbreviations. Another thing, red flag, is if your document contains in the alignment view, contains a lot of these memoQ structural tags. This means that content between paragraphs was joined. There is an easy way, if you have a lot of content, you can very quickly count the number of those kind of tags. Just run search and replace. With this content, you need to select that the content is, this is the regular expression tag, and what this does is finds memoQ structural tags and replaces them with themselves. So nothing is actually changed, but you will get, when you run replace all, you will get the number of replacements. And if you get like 500 of them, you know, it's something sucks there, and maybe you should clean something before you actually start doing alignment. And the fact whether do you really need to align everything perfectly in the LiveDocs corpora? That will strongly depend on what your task is. If you are contracted to prepare translation memory, well, then you have to align perfectly. Or if you want to use aligned content without any human supervision as a source of matches in automated workflows, again. Or if your translators cannot use memoQ desktop, only use memoQ web, or are unreliable, again. But in other cases, if you are going to use it yourself, in most cases, you can just run auto-alignment, and if you get some suspicious matches, you can always open the aligned documents from within a translation editor, just right-click on a match and go to editor and then fix maybe one particular misalignment and go on. So you don't always have to spend a huge amount of time on aligning things that maybe give you some leverage, but not necessarily will give you return on investment. Sometimes these automatic matches are enough. And I think I have to finish at that point. I was going to talk about using Excel. Just let me take one final word. If you're doing an alignment, make sure once you confirm all segments that you check this very tiny option, alignment is finished, because otherwise if this is not checked, you will get 10% penalty for the matches coming from this corpus. And this is quite substantial difference. So thank you. That concludes my presentation.